everything is working. So far, cameras are working. So this is my first stream, so I'm very nervous about technology just tanking on me. So hopefully that doesn't happen. So I'm going to keep this one not short, but I'm going to stream from 10 to 12. I know some people stream for like 8 to 10 hours. I'm not going to do that on my first try. 10 to 12, and if I don't get through the project, then I might do another one next week, but I have a craft show coming up this weekend, and I'm kind of behind on that, so this first live stream just happened to fall on the week that I'm getting ready for the craft show, so I need to stick to that 10 to 12. So if you're just getting here, these are the items that you're going to need. You're going to need a piece of dollhouse furniture, some paint. The first paint I'm going to be using is this brown acrylic, and that's going to be my undercoat. And then I'm going to be using crackle medium, and I use, see if I can get this sticker off of here. Nope. I use the Folk Art brand. No, it's stuck on my hand. I use the Folk Art brand crackle medium that you can get at Hobby Lobby. And this is the only one I use. I've heard other people use ones that are different. This one goes underneath the paint coat that you want to crackle, and I've heard other people use ones that go on top and they don't work as well. So this is the only one that I recommend, and I'll hold that up for you. And I can get it at Hobby Lobby, probably Michael's. I'm not sure. I just buy it at Hobby Lobby. You'll need like a top coat, whatever coat you want to use. So maybe later in the stream, when we get to that point, we can vote on what color we want to finish this furniture with. And I have some various other colors. I'm aging this furniture, so I'm going to need some like darker, more earthy colors to make it look old. And I also have water for making like washes. So acrylic washes, you just add water and it thins out your acrylic paint so that you can kind of wash it over your miniature. And I also have a jar of water for my paintbrushes, lots of old crummy paintbrushes. And I have some aging tools. This is like the little, it looks like the toothpick that the dentist uses to get like the stuff out of your teeth. And then just a file. And I think I got these at Harbor Freight. So I've been thinking about maybe doing a video on Harbor Freight, kind of show you where you can get the really cool miniature tools in that store. So if there's a Harbor Freight near you, you should definitely check it out because it's got some cool treasures in there. Okay, so got all of those things, and it's about 9:55, so I'm gonna go ahead and begin, and I'm gonna clear all of this off. If you missed what the things that you might need, back up the video a little bit. I went through everything, and actually the first thing you're going to need is some sandpaper. So let me clear all of this off and get this cleared off. Okay, so this is a piece of furniture that I got at Hobby Lobby. It's just my go-to. I mean, there's not a dollhouse store near me, so this is my go-to store for just generic dollhouse furniture. A lot of times I make my own if I need something special, but if you just need something like basic, dollhouse furniture is going to be at Hobby Lobby. And this is an unfinished piece. Take that out. It's by Mayberry Street is let's see. Mayberry Street is the brand. And you can look it up online. At the bottom, let's see if I can show you. The bottom right here, this is where you can find it online if you want to purchase something like this, if you really like this piece. There's definitely other places you could get it, but I needed to just physically go to a store and pick it up. So this one has little drawers that come out like so. They come out pretty easily, actually. And then doors that open up. So pretty basic piece of furniture, but I think we can make it look really nice. Especially to go into kind of like an older scene, possibly. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start sandpapering this down. So there we go. We'll just begin. Oh, and this is 400p grit sandpaper. All right, here we go. I'm gonna give this guy a light sand, and I'm gonna take the drawers out because they're just gonna keep falling out. And I'm sorry if this is horrible sounding on the microphone. If it's too loud on the microphone, tell me in chat so that I can like move it away. But for the most part, I'm gonna try and do this on camera. I'm just gonna give it a light sand because it's already pretty smooth, but I want the edges smoothed down a little bit more, especially before my first coat of paint. This guy, just a good general sanding. And if you have any questions, I'm going to keep my eye on the chat. If you're like, what are you doing? What is this all about? Why are you sanding a small hutch? Just let me know. Okay, so that didn't take very long, but just a general sand to get kind of any rougher edges that were left behind, because this is a mass-produced item, so it's going to be done by machines and there might be some rough edges. Oh, and let me sand the little drawers. I really don't want to paint these. I hate painting little bitty drawers, but it's part of it, right? Okay. There we go. Just give those guys a little sand. All right. After I sand the piece, I'm going to want to wipe it down with just a regular paper towel. And this is because it's going to leave behind some like fine sawdust, I guess. And you don't want that getting in your coat of paint. So I'm just going to wipe that down all over. Get that off. There's so many places to look. I'm having a hard time figuring out where to look. So if you feel like I'm not looking at you, I'm sorry. Okay, so I've sanded this guy down. And the first coat of paint I'm going to do is this dark brown, like I said. Because if I'm aging this piece and it's supposed to be old, they used real wood back in the day, so it would have been a darker brown color could have been pine. So you can use a lighter color brown if you would like to, but I'm going to use this dark brown because also when the final coat of paint crackles, it's easier to see the darker color. So that's why I like to use a dark brown. If you use a light brown, you may not see it as well, especially if you're using a lighter paint coat. Okay, so I'm just gonna put some of that down and pull up my sleeve. Get one of these brushes, and I'm just gonna put this coat of paint all over. If I ever go off screen, tell me, please. And I'm gonna try and get in all those little grooves and crevices. This is like one of those hutches, I think, where you put like the plates against the back, and so it has all these little grooves in it. I want to make sure I get paint in all those grooves as I go through. Sometimes there's like a more difficult angle. You just got to shove paint up in there. And usually after your first coat of acrylic, the wood fibers are going to splinter up a little bit, so you will want to like lightly sand it again. You don't have to like sand it to where the paint comes off, just lightly sand it so that any of those wood fibers that have stuck up will not stick up in your final paint coat. Okay. Just keep swimming, or just keep painting, right? Just keep painting. And this does not have to be the most perfect coat of paint ever, because it's going to be covered up. So that's why I'm not being super careful, and I'm just trying to get it on the piece of furniture. All right. I wish I could play some music, but I really don't want to get like a copyright problem on my very first live stream. So it feels so quiet. Like I wish live chat could be like actual chat so I could talk to somebody, because I feel kind of weird talking to myself. Because usually I'm a quiet person and I don't really make any noise, especially when I'm at home by myself, just me and my dog. So hopefully this is the part that takes the longest to get this part painted. I'm just going to move it every direction, because especially when you're painting miniatures, if you don't look every direction, there's going to be a side that you didn't paint, or like underneath, you see underneath that shelf, I didn't get that part because I can't see it very well. So I'm just going to move it every direction so that I can see every single side of what I'm painting, and then go back and get back in those grooves, any parts that I missed. Okay. Alright, so the inside of that hutch is pretty well done, and now I can get a little bit more paint and do the outside. Thank you, Kim. I'm trying to talk. If you have any questions, just let me know. I'd love to answer questions because it gives me another topic to talk about. All right, I think this is my favorite color brown. It just reminds me of chocolate every time I paint with it. It's called Earth Brown. If you get, and I think it's the cheap stuff at like at Walmart. Earth Brown. So as long as it does the trick, I don't really care how much it costs. Okay. We're getting closer to this being done, and I actually found my hair dryer. I hardly ever use a hair dryer, but I found it, so hopefully I can dry these layers fairly quickly, so that we can finish this project all in this 2-hour little time span. Because I'm willing to do a part 2, but I'd hate that for you guys, especially if you're following along. It's not fun to have to wait to see the second part. So I always hate it on TV shows where it has the to be continued and you're like, really? Okay. All right, so that was probably the easy part to paint. The difficult part is going to be down in here, but when the drawers go in, you're not really going to see inside here. I'm probably not going to crackle paint inside of this area. I'm just going to leave it brown. I have some old furniture I could go check. I don't think typically they painted inside of the drawer area anyway. I don't know. I'll have to go check that when I'm done with the stream. Open up the drawers and see if there's any paint in there. Okay, so I'm just gonna put just like a layer of this dark brown paint in there. Okay, get all that in there. And like I said, you're gonna move it all around so that you can see that you're getting every single spot. The worst feeling is when you think you're completely done with a color of paint, you put it away, you've cleaned your brush, and you realize that you've missed a spot. I hate that. I hate it. But I do this a lot, so. And I mess up a lot, so. But that's why I like to age things, because you can be messy and mess up, and it kind of looks like you meant to do it. Okay, last drawer section. Oops, see, I missed some spots. So I just move it around before I move on. Make sure I got every single part in here. This is actually a pretty well built piece of furniture. At Hobby Lobby it was $10, but of course you can use the 40% off coupon, and then it's only $6. So that's what I did. And a $6 piece of dollhouse furniture is not too bad, especially when you can customize it yourself. Okay, so I got inside those drawer sections. Now I'm just going to get inside this cabinet. And I'm not, well, should I crackle inside the cabinet? I don't know. I guess maybe that's like a personal choice. If anyone else has an opinion, let me know. I guess it's a personal choice because some people like to have their miniatures open. So if you wanted it to look like it was painted and aged inside, then you could paint inside the cabinet. All right, we're gonna use a lot of paint. Get this guy covered. And it's going to be kind of hard for me to get all the way back there. All right. I think I'm just going to say all right a lot until I think of the next thing I'm going to say. I think that's it. Oh, now it's good. This is where you start getting covered in paint, or where I start getting covered in paint. You might be better at this than me, but I might just leave that open for now, let it dry a little bit before I close it, because I don't want to have to struggle to get it back open again. Nope, 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 nope. Yep. Now the paint comes all over. I'm always covered in paint. It's okay. I'm also an art teacher. So just constantly covered in paint. I don't even worry about my clothes getting paint on them anymore because that's how I know they're mine. Lost and found. If there's something with paint on it, it's probably mine. And I'm okay with it. It gives my clothes character, right? Okay, I'm going to do the inside of the other cabinet. If you can't see something I'm doing, just let me know. I'm trying to stay on camera, but there's camera, computer screen. I'm not used to looking at so many places. I look out at children staring back at me most days. Just one spot. Well, there's multiple children staring back at me, but they're all just like in front of me. Okay, I'm a teacher, just in case that sounded weird. That's why there's children staring at me. Okay. See, I pull it up near my face, so you'll just have to remind me. Okay, I'm not looking forward to painting these drawers because that's where I'm really gonna get covered in paint. That's okay. That's okay. Anybody else have paint covered clothing? That's the sign of a artist or a miniaturist or someone who just likes to craft. It's like a badge of honor. Okay, let's get these doors painted. One thing that may happen is if the paint kind of cakes up on these doors, you may have to sand it down just so that they close easily again. And honestly, if I was doing this on my own time, I would probably change out these handles, and because they're just like little knobs, which are fine. But I don't know if you've seen my handles video. I really like to make my own, just make them look a little bit more realistic. But as far as mass-produced dollhouse furniture goes, especially with wood, these are not bad. They're small, they're in scale. Sometimes they make the knobs so big that they just kind of look ridiculous. So these are not too bad. Okay, got to get the front of this door. Does that not just remind you of chocolate? Like a big chocolate piece of furniture? Anyway, this may be because I'm on like a low carb thing and I haven't had chocolate in a long time. So now I'm fantasizing of my dollhouse furniture as chocolate. Don't worry, we'll crackle it and then I won't have that problem anymore. It won't look like something I want to eat. Okay, I'm going to get all over, and I really like these feet. I think they're super cute. They did a good job on that. Yeah, Kim agrees with me. It does look like chocolate. I'm not the only crazy person. Sorry, Kim, I'm not calling you crazy. It just looks like chocolate. Okay. Let's get this all covered. Okay. Most of that is covered, and if you do miss like a little spot, that's okay because we're also going to be doing the crackle paint. So this is not the final coat. So if you're looking at this thinking that's not what I want it to look like, then no worries, because it's going to be covered and crackled and then covered again with different paint washes. So anything that kind of shines through that you're like, oh, that didn't get covered all the way, you can totally fix it when you age it. Just need a few almonds. Oh my gosh, look what I have. I have a whole thing full of almonds. This is my snack during the stream. I love chocolate with almonds. It's delicious. Dark chocolate with almonds. Okay, so now we're going to get the back all covered. And then we will have our first coat finished. Okay. get this covered. I love to snack on almonds, especially now that I'm on this low carb thing, which hasn't been too bad because like you get to eat a lot of fats and proteins, but man, almonds are my go-to, especially because I used to love chips and salsa and things that were crunchy. And so like, I don't know, I have 2 or 3 handfuls of almonds a day. So good. And I'd love to have the salted ones, but apparently I can't have too many of those. So I have to get the unsalted ones so I can have as many as I want. Okay, just a few more touch-ups on this guy, and then I can do the drawers. And there's gonna be some pieces of furniture that will need 2 coats. So feel free to do 2 coats of this. I don't know if it helps that much. Some people just like to see each layer look its best. I've had some pieces of furniture that when the paint goes on, it still looks really streaky. Like, I don't know if you can see, let's see, light inside this bottom piece right here. It's still a little streaky, but when the crackle goes on top of it, that's not going to bother me anymore because it's going to be mostly covered in the paint. So, but feel free to go back over it a second time if you think that will bother you. I don't worry too much about this coat because this is just really giving the color that goes under the paint. Okay. All right, so now a drawer time. So now I'm just gonna get covered here. And the drawers I may want to do a little bit better job on with this, especially if I'm not planning on doing the crackle paint on it. Okay. I probably won't do 2 coats because of just trying to make sure I can get this project done for you. But I'm just saying you can do 2 coats if you're following along. Is that hard to see on the paint palette because it's so crazy looking? Let's see. Here, I have some white paper. I was wondering what you meant by goofy. Yes, they are good for me. Okay, so now hopefully you can see the drawers. I don't ever clean off my paint palette, if you can tell. It just kind of builds up, and with acrylic paint it dries, and then, you know, I guess that's kind of like laziness. But it works for me, and I think it's kind of beautiful. I don't know, I kind of want to hang my paint palettes because I have 2 or 3 that look just like this, like on the wall, and then start a new one because I think they're kind of abstract art. That might be the art teacher in me just liking the kind of weird looking palettes. So get all these drawers done. They're probably gonna stick. No, he's not sticking. Did I do the bottom? Yeah, I did. Okay. Should probably have grabbed some wet wipes for my fingers, but I didn't, so I might do that after I get this first coat done. Oh, sticky. Okay. What were you wondering what was, Kim? Did I say that right? What were you wondering what it was? There we go. Get these all covered. Probably I will turn the fan on when I get up to get the wet wipes, because it's getting warm in here. I was watching someone's vlog and it was like snowing and rainy and freezing cold, and then I walk outside in Texas and it's burning hot. Okay, not burning hot, it was muggy. And oh, my palette, yeah. It's just muggy, and you walk outside and you feel like you can't breathe. You feel like you're breathing water because it's so hot. Okay, like I said, not like 85 and then plus humidity is blah. So, and then, you know, it's fall, so you want to dress your kids like in fall clothes and get their sweaters out, but they're 7 o'clock in the morning. They're like, I'm hot. It's too hot. So they're still in t-shirts and shorts and sweating in the car. And I don't miss the snow. I used to live up in Chicago and it was snowy and I didn't have any brothers. So guess who got to shovel the driveway? The oldest child. That's me. And that's a lot of work. I don't know if any of y'all live where there's snow, but that's a lot of work. And depending on how much it snows, you got to do it every day. So I do not miss the snow. However, I would like for it to be a little cooler every now and then, to have a longer season in Texas that's not just summer. Okay, I just want a really long fall season because I love fall. I just want it to be fall all the time. Okay, so these have one poorly painted coat. The front of the drawers I will be putting the crackle medium and the other coat of paint on. So I don't have to worry about that, but I probably will, while they're kind of drying, put one more coat on the inside of the drawer. That way, if someone opens it up, since I'm not doing the crackle finish on it, it looks somewhat decent and just looks like it's a brown inside of the drawer. Just gonna put one more coat on those. Any spots that I'm seeing that I missed. Get everything that I can see. Okay. Okay, so let me make sure you can see what I'm doing. Here's the hutch. Oop, I see a big blob of paint. Okay. Here's the hutch that's been painted brown. Is that like super dark? It looks dark to me. I have like all these lights on. Let's see, move this guy up. Get the white more in there. Okay, so here's the hutch. Here are the drawers that go in it. I'm going to go grab, or actually I'm going to go wash my hands and grab the wet wipes so that I don't have to keep getting up to wash my hands. And I'm just going to come back, super quick dry these, and hopefully I can start putting the crackle medium on. Okay, so I'll be right back. And I have a be right back sign. Ta-da! So, okay, it will be like 5 seconds. I'm back, and I have my wipes. I always keep these at my desk, and I don't know why I didn't. So I have those now. I'm gonna drink some tea, Texas tea. Where is everybody from? Where are y'all at in the world? I'm obviously in Texas. Where we drink iced tea. I also like hot tea. But I love iced tea, sweet tea. Although, since I'm doing low carb, it's stevia tea. But it's still pretty good. I've been using the liquid stevia, and it's not too bad. I don't hate it. Okay. So, I'm going to watch chat if you're letting me know where you're from. And I'm going to try and, this is my hair dryer. And I'm going to try and just kind of blast these guys. So hopefully it's not too loud. Kim, you're from Plymouth. You must be having beautiful weather right now, because I know fall out there is awesome. Although, if it's raining right now, I don't watch the weather. So, but like, are the leaves beautiful out there? I'm sure they are. Our leaves go from green to dead, and then we have to rake them all up, and then they come back green again. Okay, I'm gonna blast this little guy. Dolly is from the UK. Hi, Dolly. I love the UK. If I ever lived anywhere besides Texas, I would want to live in the UK. For sure. I spent 4 months on a study abroad, and I spent 3 of those days, we had like a trip that we could take, and spent 3 of those days in London. Actually, we stayed in Greenwich, and then we went into London and loved it. It was awesome. Plus, I had been spending 4 months in Italy in this small town. No one understood what I was saying, and my friends and I, when we landed in London, we were just so thankful that we could understand what people were saying, and they could understand us. It was awesome, but loved it. Loved every second. Okay, so now I'm going to get my crackle medium going. And like I said, if you put that paint coat on there, just kind of check those doors, because sometimes if the fit is really tight, you may have to sand down some of the paint you put on the top so that it can fit a little bit better. Okay. Perfect day, bright sun, warm in the 70s. Okay, so they'll change in a few weeks. Awesome. Jealous. Okay. I think it was, I don't know what it was this morning, but it was still muggy. The only reason I'm wearing something like this is because my husband freezes me out of the house. So, okay. So now I'm going to, most of it's dry. Yeah, it's mostly dry. Luckily, acrylic paint dries really fast, so I don't have to wait too long. This stuff dries a little bit slower, and I've never dried it with hair dryer, so we'll see how that goes. But this is the acrylic medium. I showed it earlier, but I'll show the front of it again. It's the only one that I personally recommend. It's the only one that I use. I've had some other friends who are miniaturists try some different brands, but they've had a lot of problems with it, especially with miniatures. So this is Folk Art brand Crackle Medium, and I get it at Hobby Lobby, but I'm sure there's other places you can get it from. And this is one that goes underneath your final paint coat, whatever coat it is that you want to crackle. There's other ones that go on top, so kind of read through the directions. This says base coat surface, let dry. Apply medium, let dry. Apply contrasting top coat color. So this one goes in between your base coat and your top coat. And so what it does is when you put the top coat on, it just dries it out super fast and the paint separates. The ones that go on top, so if you're looking for one and it says that it goes on top, I don't understand how those work, and apparently they don't work that as good as this one does. Okay, so you might be able to get it to work. If that's all you can find, you can try it out, but this is what works the best for me in miniatures. Okay, all right, so here we go. I'm just gonna put, this is probably better to put in like a tub instead of on a flat palette surface like this, but that's what I got. So that's what I'm doing. And I'm just gonna dry off my brush from earlier. So with the Crackle medium, you're going to want to put it on kind of thin, because the thinner the medium goes on, the smaller your cracks will be. And you want small cracks on a miniature item because it's miniature. So you want your cracks to be in scale with your furniture. So I'm going to put a thin coat. If you put it on thicker, like you can put thicker in some places and it'll just look like there's just one crack in that area. But I just put a thin coat, and this stuff works well. So don't worry about it not being on there enough. But definitely feel free to experiment, because that's the only way you can really learn something new, is if you experiment. So I'm going to put it on every single part of this hutch except for inside the drawer areas, because I'm just going to leave those dark brown. And I don't know if this makes a difference, but I try to put the Crackle medium on in the direction I want most of my cracks to go. I have just always done that, so I don't know if you do it a different way, if you'll get a different effect, but that's just what I do. So for example, if I want my cracks to kind of go up and down these backboards, then I'm going to make sure that that's how I put my Crackle medium on. And you do want to do that when you put your final coat on. Okay. Also, one thing to note is that the Crackle medium will have a shine. So if you're worried that because it's a clear coat that you won't be able to tell whether you've put it in all the spots, you should be able to see a shine on your piece of furniture, and that will let you know that you have put Crackle medium there. So I'm sure you can see, and even when it dries, it has a shine on it. So you don't have to worry about not being able to know, unless your base coat that you used was really shiny. Then you might have an issue, but I always use matte acrylic paint. I never use glossy. You can always put a coat on it afterwards to make it glossy if that's something, an effect that you want. But I always start out with a matte coat. And I have one black acrylic paint that I accidentally bought that was glossy, and every now and then I pick it up and I use it and everything's matte, and then I have this, whatever I painted that was black is glossy, and I should probably just get rid of it or take it up to school so my students can use it. I just have this one, I have like, I don't know, 5 different bottles of black paint. One of them is glossy, and if I'm not paying attention, then it gets me. Okay, so just get all this on here. So some of the parts are going to be a little thicker than others, and that's okay. Typically when an item ages, it's not going to age, you know, in an organized manner. I don't know if that makes sense. It's just going to crack. Like, you know, if it's an old furniture in an old setting, then it's just gonna age how it's gonna age. So I'm not really gonna worry about that too much. Now I'm just rambling. Okay, so now I'm gonna try and go with the grain on this guy. Put on a thin coat. See if you can see that. So I've coated right here, and I've coated up in here. You can see the shine on that. And this will take a little bit longer to dry than the acrylic paint. And you want it to dry all the way before you put your final coat on there. That is important. If your base coat doesn't dry all the way and it kind of mixes in, like if you just have one little like lump of paint that didn't dry all the way, that's not that big of a deal, but you do want it to dry all the way before you put your top coat on. Okay. So, like, for example, there was this lump of the acrylic, the crackle medium, so I want to make sure that I get that, make sure that it's laying flat so it dries faster. If it lumps up, it's not going to dry as fast, and you're going to get frustrated waiting. I'm not very patient, so I like it to dry quickly. Okay, now I'm going to go with the grain on this top part here. That might be a little bit too thin. You'll kind of, as you work with the medium more and more, you'll kind of get the hang of the thickness that you like, and you'll just kind of pick it up. I've done this a lot, so I'm used to it, to what the thickness is that I want to see. If you can see like a white haze, that's a little bit too thick. I don't know if there's a way I can show you. There's kind of a white haze right here on this little lump because it's too thick, but this looks clear. Looks just like a clear glaze, and that's the perfect thickness for me, for the crack size that I want. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going with this. And like I said, this stuff is better in like a little container. Right now it's just going all over the place and not being very useful, but I got my flat palette out instead of my one with the rounded tubs, so that's what I get. Okay, everything's still functioning on the stream. Looks like it. Okay. Okay. This stuff is also very sticky, so be careful when you're going around doors, things with moving parts, that you don't, well, I don't know if you can avoid it, but I'm not going to put crackle medium on the edges of the door. I'm just going to put it on the face of the door, because I don't want it to stick shut, because this stuff can be rather sticky. I'm going to try and keep from getting it in there, even though I just did as I was saying that. Okay. So I'm still going in the direction of the wood grain, or what I perceive how the wood grain would go. Probably not all miniature, like the wood that the mass-produced miniatures are made out of may not be what you would think, but for example, in real life, when they would make this door, they would make it out of one long panel and the wood grain would go this way. So I kind of think through those things as I'm making these. Just, you know, you want to put in as much realism as possible. That's the whole point most of the time, unless you don't care about that, and that's fine too. I always thought it would be fun to make a miniature dollhouse that was just completely out of scale. Kind of like, I don't know if anyone's ever seen that episode of Friends where Monica gets the big dollhouse from her grandmother, or someone passes away. She inherits this dollhouse and it was gorgeous. And then Phoebe brings over this dollhouse she made out of like a shoebox. And it's all out of scale. She has like this giant dog that is like 2 floors of the dollhouse. And everyone likes Phoebe's dollhouse better because it's more fun. It has like a licorice room, and anyway, eventually it burns down because she puts like incense in there and burns it. But all of that to say, I think it would be really fun to make a out of scale on purpose house. Just like go to antique stores and find things that would be interesting, and yeah. So I don't know how I got off on that tangent. Oh, I'm totally off camera. I'm sorry. At 11 o'clock, I am going to do a giveaway. So if you're here on my first stream, I'm going to be giving away like a little open book like this. I have 3 that you can choose from, and whoever, I'll just tell you a word you can type in, and then I'll draw a name, and you can pick one of those books, and I will mail it to you. Just a thank you for being on my first stream with me, and because I'm glad someone's here. I didn't know if anyone would show up because, you know, I don't have that many followers as far as YouTube goes. But, I mean, I'm thankful for the followers that I have, and I'm glad that you guys are here. So thanks for following along. And that's why I want to do a giveaway. It's not very much, it's not very big, but just something to say thank you. Okay, this is the tricky part now. When everything's covered. Okay, we still see. Thank you, Kim. I'm glad you're still here. Let's see, we've got a few more people. Hello, more people. Welcome to the stream. I'm trying to age this hutch purchased from Hobby Lobby. And if anybody missed it, the, let's see, how can I show you? Okay, my finger. Okay, see where my thumb is pointing? Maybe. Right here is the link underneath here. Oh, I can take that off. Take this start time off. Okay, at the bottom of the page is where you can find this miniature item. It says item can be found at. That's the link where you can look for this hutch. I went ahead and found it. Not sponsored. I'd love to be sponsored by Hobby Lobby. That would be awesome. But I don't even know if they do that. But I just wanted to do my first stream with an item that if you guys wanted to do this, you could find it. So awesome, Kim. That would be great. I really love doing this YouTube channel. I think miniatures are so awesome. And for the longest time, I was just kind of felt alone in doing miniatures. Just because I didn't know anybody else who was into it. And then I started finding the online community, and I don't know, I'll tell you a little bit about my background. I actually have a degree in, it's called environmental design, but it's actually an undergrad degree to study architecture. And so I began kind of this whole process by building models for my architecture classes. And I was always the model builder in the group, because usually you had to group, someone did the presentation, someone did the drawing, someone did the model, and I was always like, please let me do the model. And some people hated it, but I loved it. And so I always joke with my husband that I have a 4-year degree in miniatures, but worth it. So worth it. I love doing this, and honestly, I learned a lot in that degree that can apply to so much more than architecture. I did work in the architecture field for a few years, and while it was good, it just did not have the creativity that I have been craving. I feel like to be an architect, you have to have that creativity, but you also still have to have that engineer mind of, you know, getting things done, and I don't know what I'm trying to say. Just a little bit more engineering minded, and I'm not really, I feel like I'm more on the creative minded side. So I stopped working at an architecture firm so that I could start teaching, and I have really enjoyed that. And during that time, I was able to start in miniatures, and yeah, I think I will also be addicted for many years to come. Kim says she's addicted for 30 years, so we'll see how many years. I think this is going to be a lifelong thing for me. Okay. Oh, I just washed my brush out, and I haven't crackled the drawers. So I mentioned earlier that I always do that, and it annoys me. Okay. I'm going to let this... Woo! Okay. I'm going to knock things over here. I'm going to let that guy dry, and I'm going to crackle this drawer. Okay, so there's still a little bit of this stuff on here. Just put it on the drawer front, because I'm going to leave the inside just brown. Get this drawer front. And this will crackle the knob that's on the front drawer, because I'm not like going around it. But honestly, after you put the final coat on, if you don't like the drawer knobs being crackled, you can just paint over it, because sometimes crackle will work through 2 coats of paint, but most of the time, if it's already crackled a coat of paint, you can paint over it and it won't crackle anymore. Most of the time, unless you've just used some really thin coats of paint. So I'm not too worried about that. All right. So the next step in all this is I'm going to attempt for the first time to hair dry the crackle medium with a hair dryer. I don't know if it's going to work. And it's hard to know, because it's shiny, it's really hard to know when it's dry. Okay. So I'm going to make my microphone go that way while I dry this guy. So hopefully it's not too loud. working really well. Ooh. Okay, I'm gonna try it, go for a little bit longer. It's not too loud, y'all okay? Seems loud to me, so. I'm just gonna let that dry for a couple more minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and give you the words to type if you want to enter the giveaway. It's just gonna be type yay books to enter the giveaway for the miniature books. I will draw names at 11 and Texas time. Okay, so let me show you. These are the miniature books that I have, and sorry for the paint hands. So this one kind of looks like a flat sketchbook, and so it just lays open like so. This one just looks like some writing, and it's got a little bookmark going down the middle. And this one kind of like a picture book. Oops, there we go. Like a picture book. So if you win the giveaway, you can just pick one of these. So you can pick the pink one, or the yellow one, or the green one. And you can message me your address to my YouTube channel. I think that's possible, from your account, and then you just tell me if you want green, yellow, or pink, and then I will send it to you. Okay, so while that's happening, I'm going to go ahead and finish this. It looks like it just needs a little bit more time. I'm gonna give y'all a couple seconds to enter the giveaway. I'm just gonna write names and draw a name, super simple, old-fashioned way. Make sure you type yay books to enter the giveaway, and then if your name gets drawn, then you get to pick the color that you want to be sent to you. So make sure you type the yay books. Also, what we need to vote on, as I throw things, is the color, the final color for the hutch. So what I have here, I just grabbed, I like the lighter colors because we have a dark brown, so the lighter colors are going to be more contrasting. So these are choices for the final finish, if I can hold them all in my hand. Thank you, Mariah. I love the miniature world too. Thank you. I'm glad you like my tutorial. Yay! Makes it worth it when people like them. So we have white, green, buttermilk, baby blue. So if you have an opinion on that, let me know. Because I picked these because I like all of these. I've done a piano in both baby blue and green, aging them, and I've done both of these on several different things. So I like all of these colors. Since y'all are watching, buttermilk, awesome. We gotta vote for buttermilk. I like that color too because that's also, especially if you're going for something realistic, that's probably a color they would have used back then, or it could have started out white and ended up buttermilk. So I have like, I don't know, 6 bottles of this light buttermilk, and I use it for all sorts of stuff. This is also I can get at Hobby Lobby. Okay, so we have a vote for buttermilk. I'll put this out there while I kind of talk about the paint after you put on the crackle medium. So crackle medium is dry, and I'm super happy that it dried fairly easily with the hair dryer. Uh-oh, I'll make sure I get these doors open. There we go. Yeah, because sometimes it takes forever for this stuff to dry, and that dried really fast. Okay, door's still open, awesome. So when you are going to paint with an acrylic paint over the crackle, you got to do it in one stroke. One stroke. Because if, another vote for buttermilk. Okay. So I think we're probably going to go, everyone's voting for buttermilk. Awesome. Okay. Put these other ones away. Also, hold on. Before we even start talking about paint, let's do the drawing. I have Kim and Mariah in the drawing. Let me write your names down. Find a pen. Okay. Let's see. Mariah and Kim. Any other entries that I missed? Nope. Just got 2. 50% chance. That's awesome. Right. Scissors. Cut y'all out. I should have had paper ready to go, but I didn't. Okay. All right, so I got Kim and Mariah. I'm gonna crumple you up, make a drawing. Okay, and the winner is this one. Winner is Mariah. All right, Mariah, send me a link or send me a personal message with an address, and I will send you a book. And I think you already told me you want the pink one, but if you change your mind, just let me know. And yeah, I'll try to have another drawing in my next stream. So I'm going to do one a month, so maybe we'll do a drawing each time. So that'll be awesome. Okay. All right, we're going with buttermilk. And like I was saying, when we paint with the acrylic paint over the crackle medium, you really have one chance. Here we go. because once the crackle paint starts working, this looks really mushy. This is a brand new one, so it needed time to all shake up. Okay. Once it starts crackling, if you go back over it again with another stroke of paint, you could ruin the crackle that's forming. So a lot of times when I paint over something, I paint 3 or 4 times to make sure I get a good coat. But when you're going over crackle medium, you have one shot. Or you could just have a mess on your hands at the end. So you're welcome, Mariah. Congratulations. So just make sure you send me that and I will get it in the mail to you. Okay. So the key to this is making sure you get a lot of paint on your paintbrush the first time. I'm going to try and show this to you. Okay. So I'm going to get quite a bit of paint, and I'm going to kind of paint in surfaces. So I'm going to start with this top surface, and I'm going to try and go rather quickly doing one stroke. Occasionally, like, I'll go over the edges, but I'm going to try and not go over it too many times. All right, so here we go. This always makes me a little bit nervous. Okay. Sorry, I stopped talking while I was painting. Okay, so you can already see the crackle is starting to form. Now I have this kind of like big overlap here in the middle. So sometimes I'll go back, because not everything needs to be crackled. Sorry, I'm shaking. I forgot to turn the fan on. I'm getting really hot. Ugh. Doesn't have to be crackled everywhere. So you can see it's forming really fast. Yeah, I've done a lot of work with crackle medium. So a lot of this has been self-taught knowledge. I don't think there's like a website. Maybe I could start a website on crackle knowledge that I've built up over the years. Okay, so because a lot of people get frustrated when they try to crackle something, especially in miniature. But it's just, I've had a lot of failures before I got to where I can make this look halfway decent. The other thing, if you want this to look really old, this is, let's see, this is a one of those pick things that looks like a dental tool. You can get these at like Harbor Freight. You can use the pointed end to pick away at some of the paint, or I a lot of times use the rounded end, and so I can just kind of, while the paint's still wet, and just kind of rub it a little bit, and it starts pulling away at the paint, and it pulls it at where it's already cracking. So it starts to add some age already. But you need to do this kind of while it's wet, because once it dries, you can still take the paint off, but you have to do it with sanding. Okay, so I do this, like I said, I paint in panels, and then I kind of age in panels, and then I'll take the edge of it and go on the edge, because the edge of old furniture will have crackled. Oops, kind of messed up there, but that's okay. It's old, it's, you know, I meant to do that, right? And then, so I kind of go around the edges, like so. Okay, let me know if you can't see that, if you're having trouble seeing what I'm talking about. So already it's starting to look aged without even doing any of the aging stuff with the other paints. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going along. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm just going to keep going along. And like I said, I stopped talking when I was doing this before, because Like I feel like I have to concentrate. With the undercoat, didn't really have to concentrate as much, because if you mess that up, you're not going to see it in the final product. Now I'm just doing the little trim that goes around the edge. I'm going to let that crackle for a minute. Let's see. It's really hard for me to tell what you can see. Can y'all see the crackle? Someone let me know. I know you can see those probably. I don't know if you can see underneath. So I'm just gonna run this along the edge here. Take some of that paint off to show the brown paint underneath. And that's gonna look like the paint has rubbed off that edge piece. Can y'all see that? Okay. You can see the crackle. Awesome. Alright, so I'm just going to keep going. If there's something that you want to see a little bit better or something that you can't see, you want to see closer, just let me know. Still trying just to use one stroke and get a whole panel done. Okay. Yay, I'm glad y'all can see it. Like I said, this is my first time with this setup, so I'm trying to make sure that my cameras are set up so that people, you know, there's no point in doing this if y'all can't see what I'm doing. Okay, I'm also going to do these front pieces. Whoop, going over it too much. You really just don't want to be going over it once the crackle starts. If your crackle medium is thicker, it's going to start crackling faster. If it's thinner, it takes a few more seconds. So you can kind of go over it a little bit more if you need to. So you can see the crackle on this guy. I'm just going to take the back of my tool, just kind of go like so. Just here and there. This is an old cabinet. Sometimes I like the ways the parts that I age, sometimes I'm not that big of a fan. Like that, especially when I lose control of it. So it's easier when I'm not trying to hold it for a camera and it's closer to my face. That's a bit easier, but I want to make sure you guys can see, so that's more important. Okay. So there already we have some age. This might be, even though I don't like this very much, this where I accidentally did that, you know, you never know. Someone might be moving this old piece of furniture and it knocked into the wall. So have this big circular scrape here. You can just make up stories that go along with your mistakes, explain why. Although no one else would probably consider that a mistake. We're all our own biggest critics. So I'm gonna do across here. There you go. Oh, thank you, Mariah. I love aging stuff. That's like my favorite thing to do in miniatures. That's why, if you've been a part of my channel, you know that I have an Addams Family house and absolutely everything in there is aged and it just makes me happy. And if it gets dusty, no one really can tell because it's supposed to be dusty looking. Okay, this is the part I'm a little bit nervous about because getting into this back area, because I have to kind of do this in one stroke. I'm going to see if I can zoom in so that I can get a little bit closer and you guys can see a little bit better. All right, now I'm just going to try my best. Try not to get my head in the way. If I don't get it in all the cracks, I'm okay with that because probably some dirt and grime would have got in there anyway. And I'm going to take this pick tool and kind of pick paint out of there too. So, all right. And then while it's still wet, before this bottom one crackles, I'm gonna do the bottom. It's a little bit tricky, but it's working okay. If you're new to crackle, you may not want to do something that has places that are difficult to get to. But if you want to challenge yourself, just go for it. Oh, thank you. My Addams Family house has been going on for, let's see, how old is my daughter? She's 6. So 7 years. It's about 7 years old, maybe even 8 years old. But now that I've started this channel, like being able to share it with other people has really been pushing me on. So I'm hoping it's not another 7 years in the making. I'm hoping I can get it at least a little bit closer to being done sooner now that I'm sharing it with people. Okay, and I did have a blog that I shared on, but it's when I quit my full-time job, I didn't have as much time on the internet, which sounds weird, and so I kind of dropped the ball on my blog, and so now I do YouTube, so I can share it there. Okay, so now I'm just going to take this pick tool and I'm just going to scrape here. Oh, I'm so sorry. I forgot to move my microphone back. There, maybe you can hear me better now. I just realized I had all this arm space. My microwave. Psh, my microphone was not there. Okay. So I'm just kind of scraping in here, and this is going to accentuate these little boards in the back. And then I'm just like before, I'm going to take the back of this guy and just kind of pull away at some of the paint. Same thing here. And one thing I really like is when it makes the paint kind of pull up, and it gives it that texture. There's a texture of paint coming off. And so I really like when that happens. Okay, so that wasn't too bad. Just have a couple more of these little inside areas to do. And this is the fun part. I think this is fun. I have a friend who does miniatures, and aging stresses her out. She does not like to age things. And she calls me and says, "How do I do this?" And she just doesn't like it. But I think it's fun. I think I personally can make things look so much more realistic if I can age them. If they have to look perfect and pristine and straight off of the like purchase floor, like some people make IKEA miniatures and they look amazing and they look new and they're perfect. Like, I think I make too many mistakes to be able to do something that looks perfect like that. So that's why I stick to my Addams Family. And I have some figures, sorry, stay on camera. I have some figures that I think would go into a really cool Munsters house. I bought them, they had like a action figure sale thing, and it was all the Munsters. And so for Christmas one year, my husband got me Munsters action figures, and I was like, someday when the Addams Family is done, I will make a Munsters mansion, because I love the Munsters too. I can't really see what I'm doing because I'm trying not to get my head in front of the camera, but I think it's working okay. Missing some spots. That's okay. We can always cover that with some paint if we don't like how it looks. Anybody else watch the Munsters or the Addams Family growing up? I still watch them. They're on Netflix. Well, the Munsters were for a little bit. Addams Family was on Hulu? Yeah, Addams Family was on Hulu, the old like 1960s TV show. And so I would watch that on there during my lunch break at work. That's what I would watch. And then I think they took them off of Hulu, at least the free Hulu. And then I started watching Monsters on Netflix. I didn't really go out during lunch. Just stayed at my desk. You love Grandpa. He was awesome. I don't think I understood all the jokes about the daughter. What was her name? What was her name? The pretty daughter that they always talked about. Was it Evelyn? Marilyn. Marilyn. I was always confused as a kid. Like, why are they saying that she's ugly? I don't get it. Then, like, oh, irony. I get it now as an adult. But maybe I just wasn't that quick of a child when I was younger. Sorry if I'm off camera. Trying to get through this part so we can age the front of the cabinet too. So what time is it? All right, we still got 40 minutes. That's pretty good. I have a craft show this weekend that I'm still trying to prepare for, so I'm limiting myself to noon today to try and be done. And I think we'll get there. We've done pretty good so far. But I got a ton of stuff I got to get together for this craft show so that I can be prepared and not feel rushed. Yes, Marilyn was the blonde niece. And I always felt so sorry for her. Okay, there we go. I'm just getting these center parts. Whoops, missed. That's okay. That's what a lot of times I'll watch some of those old shows while I'm working on miniatures, and some of them can be inspiring for some of the furniture that they had. They've got cool sets, especially the Addams Family set, super cool. Like they have that big elephant foot for like the like umbrella holder, and of course, you know, it's not real, but just kind of kitschy looking weird things. Kitschy the right word? I've never used that word in my life, and I just used it, and I'm not sure that was correct. So, okay. So now I'm just gonna lightly, this is probably gonna be the most roughed up surface, because this is like the prep surface. So, but this may have more like dust and dirt and stuff on it. So I'm not gonna pull too much paint up. I'm gonna get kind of back in the corners there. Look, my tool's getting all gunked up. That happens. Okay. All right, so we've got the top of our hutch looking pretty dang old, I think. So now we're gonna move down here, and I'm going to just age the front. I'm not gonna age the inside. If you plan on having it open, like in a scene, that might be a good thing to think about, but typically all my furniture is closed, so I don't really worry about it. All right, so I'm gonna get some more paint. Keep going on this. The rest of this should go a little bit faster, I hope. It's like watching paint dry, right? Isn't that the phrase for something that's boring? I hope it's not boring. I'm trying not to be boring. Okay, now I'm going to zoom out a little bit more. See, there we go. Okay. All right, zoom out. That way I can more likely to be in screen. And I'm just going to get paint on this guy. I'm just still painting kind of in panels. And I don't really worry about the I mean, I get paint on there, but I don't really like scrape the undersides all that much. Just gonna get paint up on there. Oh, and then get these little side pieces. And I've still got a lot of paint on my brush. That's the super important part. Get the paint on the brush. Get enough on there so you can cover it in one swoop, because the seconds you waste going back for more paint is going to cost you, because it's going to start crackling and then you're going to be out of luck. See, I didn't have enough paint on there. There we go. And I already see the crackles coming. Okay. Awesome. If you try it out, I would love for you, I don't know if it's possible to send pictures through YouTube. I'd love to see what you make. Okay, so pick up the pick guy. And is there a Hobby Lobby near you? Because I know you can get all this crackle stuff at Hobby Lobby. Probably a Michael's or a Joann's, probably. But Hobby Lobby is my go-to. So if you have one of those, definitely you can probably get it there. The others, hopefully. I think it's a folk art is a pretty widespread brand. So if you're picking that up today, hopefully you should be able to find it in most craft stores. Okay, and then we'll do this side. Trying not to grab any sides that already have paint on them. I've done that before and then just had like a whole section of crackle paint come off on my finger. So you have Michael's and a Joann's. Okay, hopefully one of those has a folk art, but if they don't have the folk art brand, just make sure you get a brand that says, read the directions, make sure it says it goes on after the base coat and before the final coat. Because, sorry, I keep getting confused on where to look. Make sure that that's the order. If all you can find is one that goes on afterwards, you're more than welcome to try it, but I have just not heard good reviews on those. Okay, so now we're on the front, still trying not to touch stuff. This is where miniatures gets tricky, trying to hold stuff while you're working on it. I'm just gonna paint straight over the door. And after that, I'm gonna take the tool and scrape out the insides so that the door doesn't stick, okay? Because I gotta go quick so it's hard if I'm trying to be super careful about the edge of the door, especially because the door is so small. All right, then I'm gonna go across the bottom. Can you all see? Make sure I'm still on camera. And then go across these guys. These will be covered by drawers, but I still want to get those. Because some people might want to display it without drawers. So, all right. Probably what I need to do is clean off this pick because it's looking kind of nasty from all the paint. Clean off the pick and I feel like a dentist here. Get all the plaque from between the door and the side. Got a lot of buildup here. I need a floss. Okay. I say weird stuff. Okay, here we go. Get all this out. Okay, so we've got the door. I pulled all the paint that went in between there. I'm just going to start rubbing some of this paint off. like so. Does anyone have any questions about anything? Let's see, we still got about 30 minutes left. Almost done with the painting part, and then I can show you some of the little extra aging pieces, things that I do. Just a couple more aging techniques. Ooh, this is dried. It's hard to get that off. Okay. And I'm gonna do just a swipe across the bottom there on the edge, like so. Okay. I'm gonna do the bottom and the feet, although I don't think I put crackle medium on the bottom. I just put it on the feet. And I'm not gonna do the back right now, just to save us some time, so I can show you. Oops, I just went over where I aged. Oh well. So I can save us some time so I can show you some of those other techniques, and you can ask me questions if you have questions. And then I'll do the back later for myself, because the back is just, it's the back. You do the same thing you do on the front, it's just flat, and no one ever sees it. So you can leave it brown if you wanted to. Okay, so I got all the feet painted, and thank you, Kim. I'm just gonna kind of pull some paint off of those guys. And they're gonna look worn because these are the feet, right? So they see the most things like toys getting stuck underneath there, just pulled across the floor, etc., etc. Okay, so usually I paint the bottom, and also usually I paint the back, but I'm gonna skip it for today so I can do a few more techniques. Also, I need to do the front of the drawers, but this is what the cabinet looks like so far. So nice and old, my favorite. All right, so get just a little bit more of this buttermilk paint. Oh, a little bit more than that. Get these drawers painted up. Okay, let them just start to crackle. And I'm leaving the insides brown, so I don't need to worry about that. Two hours goes by really fast. It's surprising. I thought I wouldn't have enough to fill up 2 hours, but I guess sometimes you don't realize when you're all by yourself making miniatures how long it's taking. So I'm going quickly right now. Usually I just take my time, put on a movie. That's the best thing to do, I think. What I need to do, I have the first Addams Family movie. I need to get the second one, and I want to get the box set of the TV shows, and I can just sit and watch them because they're what are really inspiring. Okay, let me zoom in a little bit on this one. Okay. Get a little on these drawers. If I'm going to leave the handle like this, the handle is going to be really, that's what people are pulling on, so it's going to be really kind of messed up. Thank you. I think that's what I love about aging, is there is this transformation from brand new piece of furniture to just something that looks like it's been in, you know, in a old abandoned house, and that's just cool. It looks old and like there's a history. Whoops. Okay, here's the problem with having a palette with a bunch of paint on it, is you don't always see where the wet paint is. So I just stuck this drawer in brown paint. That's okay. It'll look like I meant to do that look at how lovely and aged that looks. Like that piece of drawer was meant to have brown paint on it. Casualties of being a messy person. That's me. Okay. Try not to stick it here. If I stick it on the white paper, which is a smart thing to do, then I'll be okay. All right. Well, the last drawer, kind of pull a little bit more on this guy. Okay, already got this guy, but I'm gonna get the handle a little bit. Can y'all see? Nope, I'm off camera. Okay. All right. So these drawers are finished. I'm going to stick them back in here. They should fit rather easy. Ooh, they're a little gummy on the edges. So I'm not going to force them back in there right now because I don't want them to stick. But that is how they would look if they were in there. They kind of fit kind of loose, which is nice because dollhouse, when you start putting paint on them, they can get sticky. So that's what's going to look like closed. Okay, I'm going to take just a second to clear some of this up, and then I'm going to show you how to use some acrylic paint, some dark acrylic paint. So if you're following along, I'm going to use some brown and some black, and then also I'm going to use some chalk pastels to kind of add just a little bit more depth to this aged piece of furniture. So give me a second to clean up and get organized, and then I'll get back with you. Get this out of here. And I'm going to take a drink of tea and turn the fan on because it is hot, as I mentioned before. I don't know how hot, but hot enough to need a drink. Fan is on. Clear up this stuff. Okay, make a little bit more room here. Put him on here. Sorry, I'm gonna talk to myself for a second. Found a tray. Wasn't very far away from me, but this is what I'm going to kind of shave off my chalk pastels in. And this is kind of important to contain these because this can make a huge mess, but it makes a really cool impact on your piece of furniture. So chalk pastels are cheap. You can get them at Hobby Lobby, just like some basic colors, as long as it has like black, brown, and green, and white and gray. Those are pretty much the colors that I use for aging. Those are always great to have kind of in your collection of craft stuff. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is use some acrylic washes. And a wash is basically acrylic paint with a lot of water. And it just helps it kind of get into the cracks. And you don't want to cover up the amount of work that you have done. So if you're using just straight black acrylic paint, it's going to cover up a lot of those cracks and a lot of the paint that you've already put on there. So I always keep this little bottle of water, and then whenever I get a paint that I want to make a wash with on my palette, I'll just add a bunch of water. And I could do that in here. I'm going to put my chalk pastels in there though. Okay, sorry, I'm bumping the microphone because I now have it in the correct spot, but When it's in the crack spot, it's in my way. Thank you, Dolly. Thanks for joining me. I hope you come back again. Who knows what I'll make next time. Okay, so I'm making a wash and it's coming out gray. Probably because I still had white paint on here. Okay, so I really want it to be like a darker color. I'm gonna add some more water. This is gonna kind of show the like grime that's built up over time. Because if it's aged, usually there's some nasty stuff that you just can't get off of there. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I have quite a bit of water and paint on my paintbrush, and I'm going to kind of scrape it onto my miniature. I'm gonna show you that if I can. Do you see the paint rolling around in there? So what I did is I kind of scraped it on there, and I can even go back with my finger and just kind of blot it around because I don't want like just a big blob of paint there, but I kind of scraped the paint and the water so that it went into the miniature, and now it looks like there's a bunch of dirt and grime that's kind of got stuck back there. Okay, so I'm gonna do it again on this next level up. Get lots of water on my brush, and I'm gonna go like this. And any paint that's left over, I'm just gonna dab with my finger. Don't be afraid to get dirty doing this because you're gonna get paint all over you. So now I've got some paint back there. Okay. Also with the wash, it's better to start out really, really watery, because if you have too much paint, you could ruin it and not be happy with it. So I'm gonna start really, really watery. Put that on there and just kind of dab it with my finger and move it around till I'm happy with it. Remember, this is probably the work surface, so it's going to be discolored and have a lot of different dirt splotches on it. Does that make sense? If anything I'm saying doesn't make sense, please tell me that I need to rephrase it. Okay, so there's probably going to be a little bit of dirt on this shelf. And if you don't wait long enough to do this, you could accidentally pull up some of the paint. So I'm kind of pushing it just because I'm pushing it for time so that you're not super bored and waiting for paint to dry. But you want to make sure that your paint crackles are pretty well dry so that you're not picking it up on your fingers. See, I am getting some on my fingers, but I'm just touching it really, really lightly. Okay, so I'm going to do that thing again where I picked up a lot of paint and water, and I'm just going to brush it up underneath this hutch cover thing, and it's going to roll across it like that. Okay, yay, I'm making sense. That's fantastic. It's good to know. Okay, so then just wherever it lands, I mean, a lot of this, especially something that looks this old, can be weather caused. So you can be sporadic with it, especially like on the top of a miniature. If it's been in an old house that has roof leaks, you're gonna see water splots on top of it. You're gonna see where it like ran down the side of the piece of furniture. Okay, so it just depends on how old and aged you're wanting to make it look. So kind of decide the story of your miniature, the story of the scene that you're creating, and you know, that'll kind of help you make some of the decisions. Like, oops, there we go. So I'm having a drip roll down there. I'm having a hard time keeping this on camera. So keep going, drip. So it's going to go all the way to the bottom there. So, you know, this could be a drip that just over the years was going through the top of your scene, causing damage to this piece of furniture. And a lot of times I create my pieces of furniture to go in a specific scene, And so if I have a piece of furniture that is underneath where there's a hole in the roof or something going on, I'm going to make sure that furniture has drips on it in the correct place. Okay, so a lot of times I would just sit and take my time, kind of figure out where I want these drips and drops to be. And obviously I don't have that time to just kind of think about it today, so I'm just kind of doing it sporadically. But this is the fun part of kind of making it your own, making it something that no one else can make. It's kind of like a fingerprint. No one else can make these cracks and this, you know, this kind of aging look. Just depends on your choices while you're aging. Okay, so I'm just gonna do that. And then now I'm going to make a wash with the brown paint. So now that you're zoomed in a little bit, I can show you I already have brown paint. This is the same brown paint that I used for the base coat. So you can see how it's kind of thin. I'm going to add a little bit more water so I know that's really thin. And I like to use brown and black because it gives a little bit more dimension, if that makes sense. It gives a little bit more visual interest. If all of your grime is black, it looks very flat. But if you've got some different colors going in there, it makes it interesting to look at. So I'm going to put some brown down here on the edge, kind of on the edge of the drawers. On the handles, that's where a lot of hand oils, because people grabbing the handles. So I'm just going to add some age to those. And again, if you didn't want these to be crackled, you could paint over them with a different paint, and the crackle a lot of times won't go through the paint, the first layer of paint. Sometimes it will, and then just paint over it again. I'll put some on the edge, and don't be afraid just to mess with it. Make it your own. If you don't like where it is, get a paper towel and take it off. You can also say that you're making something to go out into a gardening shed. You can get little miniature pots, put them into paint, and then put the pots on here, and it will make little like ring circles that look like there's been a pot sitting there for years and years and years. So it's just fun to be creative and inventive with different ways to kind of make a story come alive in your miniature scenes. Put a little bit of brown on the shelves here. Okay, I got about 15 more minutes. I'm going to show you how to shave the, where's my water? Shave the chalk pastel. If you have any questions about what I just did here, let me know. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. A lot of it, maybe. Okay, so I'm going to put this guy over here. I'm going to move this out of the way. Okay. So with the chalk pastel, this is going to kind of show more like of a dust feature. My miniatures get dusty naturally because I don't ever dust out my dollhouse. But if you want to show dust on something that might be behind glass, chalk pastel is a great way to do that because it gives that kind of a duller look because it dulls it down, and you can even see sometimes some of the little chalk pastel particles. So I'm usually use white. Well, this is a white cabinet. If it was a darker color, I would use white. This one, white's really not going to do much for it. So I'm going to use black, and I'm just going to take an X-Acto knife. This is a box cutter. I use a box cutter. You don't dust yours either. Yeah. But yeah, so you just got to work a project around whether you want to dust or not. So Adam's family, I don't have to dust, right? Okay, so I'm just going to take my box cutter and I'm just going to scrape it. And you can put your brush if you're using a brush to do this, straight onto the chalk pastel, but it is not as effective and you won't get as much pigment. If you watched my old tile tutorial recently, it was like the last video I uploaded, I showed this also, but I thought I'd show it again today in the live stream. And I'm also going to use green. A lot of times if your miniature's been in a shed for a long amount of time, you're going to get moss growing or mold. And so adding green also, like I said, adds that visual interest to people who are looking at your miniatures. And I'm going to add some brown. Like I said, the colors I use the most are black, brown, green, and gray. So I'll add a little gray so you can see what it looks like. Okay, like I said, chalk pastels are super cheap, so this is kind of an easy one to do. Just make sure when you do this that you make sure you get rid of this in a safe way, because I left my palette on the floor. Like I said, I'm kind of a messy person sometimes, and the Roomba came and spread it all over the floor. So that was my bad. Okay. True confessions of a miniaturist. All right. So what I'm going to do is, same thing I have been doing, is make sure that I'm thinking through where this dust is going to be. So the gray, and I'm using a fan brush, but you can really use any kind of brush. The black dust and grime is going to be kind of back in the corners here. And your crackles are going to start, the cracks in your paint are going to start picking up some of that dust. So if your cracks weren't pronounced enough, you're going to start seeing it pick up some of that black dust and hold on to it. So I'm going to get that back there. You can start light and then add more if you don't feel like it's enough. So like this was the work surface, so I'm going to make sure that it gets nice and dirtied up. I love putting green on there. Like I said, it just gives that more of a real earthy look, like there's been something growing here for years. So you can just kind of put that wherever you feel like it needs to go. So can you see that green? It's very subtle. I don't like it to be like in your face, which is why sometimes I'll do it with the paint, use green paint, but I like to do it with the chalk pastel because it's just very, very subtle. And you want to start out subtle. If you go straight neon green when you first start out, you may hate it. Okay, I'm going to put some down here. I'm still doing the green, and I can add some brown. So can you see the colors start to show? There's brown, there's green. I'm not sure it's picking up on the camera. It's very, very, very subtle. But when you look in person, I think you can see the green right there. And you can see the black back in here. When you look in person, it just looks very subtle, and it looks more realistic than trying to do this with paint. And I'm gonna do the top. Get some different colors on there. The gray is great for making things look dusty. So if you wanted dust on the edge where the dust would have kind of built up, and down here. Okay, I think that's all I'm gonna probably do for today. I'm gonna show you the final look. So here is this final piece, and let's see if we can open this. I carved out the door earlier. Come on, door. There we go. So there's the inside. not painted. You can paint this if you want to, but mine usually just stay closed, so I don't worry about it. And like I said, normally I would paint the back and I would paint the bottom, but for today's purposes and speed, I just wanted to show you as many techniques as I could. So yeah, let me know if there's any questions, any techniques that I went over that you had any questions over, or any products that you wanted to know the names of again. Like I said, the hutch that I'm working on is down here. Oops. Down here at the hobbylobby.com. You can, if you like this piece, you can go to that website, or if there's a Hobby Lobby near you, you can go there. Here, I'll lay this down so you can see it. Thanks for joining me today. Thanks for all the people that I got to meet today. I've seen some of your names commenting on videos, but it's nice to, you know, interact in this way too. So I really appreciate that. I'm going to be doing live streams the first Wednesdays of every month. So I will try and make sure that I put a live event on my, like a live event notification about a week beforehand. So if you want to join me again, I would love that. And also, if you have any suggestions, this is kind of like what I do. So this was kind of an easy first choice for me. You're welcome, Mariah. I'm excited to share. But yeah, if you have any suggestions, I also like to make things with the silhouette cameo. And so, yeah, if there's something that you've never seen done in miniature, I like to try new things and try and figure things out. So just let me know. I will stay on for another minute or so if there's any other questions. But that is about it. Thank y'all for joining me. And Mariah, make sure you send me your address through a personal text message through YouTube. I still don't know all the buttons or all the things that YouTube does. So yeah, just send me that message so I can have your address. And I'll do another giveaway in the next stream, which will be November. Let's see what the first November Wednesday is. November 1st. So the first day of November is a Wednesday. So that will be the next stream at 10 in the morning, Texas time. So 2 hours ago was 10 in the morning. And I'll try and still do from 10 to 12. But if it's a crazy week, kind of like this week is, we may stick to that, or we could go longer if the project is taking longer. So yeah. That's it. I don't see any other questions, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and finish the stream. So yeah, you guys have a great Wednesday and a great October. Bye. Okay, gotta figure out how to turn it off.